Today on the Sartorial Chef, we're getting superficial. That's right, it's all about soup today, and I'm kicking things off with a broccoli cheddar soup that'll have all the haters asking for more. Next is a homemade vegetable soup with vegetables straight out of the garden, and last but not least, a traditional chicken noodle soup with a homemade broth. So why don't you pull up a chair and dine with me? Sartorial Kitchen, everybody. We are getting superficial today, and it's not what you think. I'm showing you 3 classic soups. Very easy, basic soups. But I'm going to show you some easy ways to kind of jazz them up and make them more high dollar. So I'm just going to start with half an onion here. I got my stock pot heating up. I need just a couple tablespoons of butter. And that's going to melt down. And while that's rendering down, I'm going to cut my onions, and we need about half. The other half I'm going to use for our chicken noodle soup later. Okay, so that is 1 onion. I'm just going to toss that right in. I'm going to give that onion a little stir. I'm going to turn that down just a little bit. I may need just a little more butter here. Alrighty then. I've got a celery stick here. And I like onions and celery, garlic. Those are like staples for soup, any kind of good soup. I'm going to go down the middle with the celery. And the onion takes a little while to render, that's why I like to get nice and tender, so I always like to start with it first. I'm just going to come in here and get this celery going. And just nice, not too small, but not quite medium-sized pieces. And the celery is just going to add some nice flavor here to our soup. This is a broccoli cheddar soup we're making here. And I know for all my picky eaters out there, there's a lot of people that says, I don't like broccoli. Well, trust me, you're going to like this soup. So I'm adding a lot of fun, tasty flavors here that are really going to make you change your tune on broccoli. I think broccoli gets a bad rap because it's, you know, it's like a health food, and some people don't like the texture of it. I can't eat it raw, like as a salad, but if it's cooked in something, I can have it. Throw some melted cheese on it, saute it with some butter and garlic. But today we're doing a soup. So that is the onion and celery. And of course, it wouldn't be one of my soups without my fresh garlic. And I like to get some of that garlic oil in there as well. We're just going to do about a tablespoon of garlic. I always like to add my garlic last because it does not take long to cook, and it'll burn if it's in the skillet too long. And you can see those onions are nice and translucent now. And the celery as well, looking nice and soft. Seasoning here, some salt. If I'm sweating onions, I'll do my salt and pepper first because the salt's going to release the juices from the onion. But I want to caramelize my onions in this dish because it's going to add flavor. And if you add your salt too early and you're trying to caramelize the onion with butter, it's not going to brown as nicely because you're getting those onions wet, and it kind of counteracts the butter. So that's good. I got my salt and pepper. Save the rest of that. Time for our flour. I just need a couple tablespoons. What's going to happen is this flour is going to merge with the butter, and it's going to make a nice little paste, and that's going to thicken up our soup later. And you just want to stir vigorously You don't want that flour to burn. You don't want that burnt flour taste. You just want the flour to cook through. You just want to cook it long enough that it's cooked through. And you'll kind of see it kind of gets that sort of tan color. And that looks pretty good. It gets nice and thick and tasty. And to that, I'm going to add my chicken stock here. About half this container will do. And I'm just going to pour that right in. That is all you need, because we're going to be adding some other things here to thin this out. I like using chicken stock. It has some good flavor to it. It has a little bit of sodium to it as well, so you don't have to use as much salt. And then we're just going to let that kind of go, and it's going to come to a boil. I'm going to turn this back up to medium heat. And while that goes, I've got some fresh broccoli here. I'm just going to give it a little rinse. Whenever you're working with fresh vegetables, you always want to kind of rinse them off, because you don't know where they've been. You don't know if they've been rinsed, cleaned. So it's just good to err on the safe side. And then I'm just going to lay this out. And this is probably about 2 cups of broccoli. You don't need a ton of broccoli. We're going to be chopping it up anyways, which is another one of my tricks to getting people to like broccoli. If you get it into smaller pieces, you're not getting as much of that texture. And then of course it's going to boil down in the soup, so it's going to get nice and soft and tender, and it's just going to kind of melt in your mouth. Alright, our soup is looking pretty good, everybody, so I'm just going to go ahead and drop my broccoli in. Make sure we get all those little pieces. What's going to happen is this broccoli is going to cook down, it's going to get nice and tender, and that flavor of the broccoli is going to meld with our broth here. So you're going to get a lovely broccoli flavor, but you're not going to have all that fibrous texture of the broccoli. So this is a perfect way for anybody who's not a real broccoli fan. And what's great about this soup, broccoli does not take long to get tender. You just let it go for a little bit, and you'll see it's going to start to turn color. It's going to kind of get this almost olive green color after a minute. That's when you know you're ready to go. Alright, this soup is bubbling away beautifully, and you can see that our broccoli has started to break down and change color. So I am just going to go ahead and finish this baby off. Alright, so to finish off our soup, I'm going to do one more layer of seasoning here, just a little salt, not too much, because we've got the chicken stock, which is got a lot of sodium in it already, and some black pepper. And that is pretty much it. I am going to take some heavy cream here, just about a half a container, and whisk that in. And that heavy cream, it's going to counteract as well with the roux and with the boiling soup, and it's just going to give us a nice, thick, luscious texture here. And I'm just going to stir that in, let that come to temp. And then I've got some sharp cheddar here. I like the sharp cheddar because it gives you a little extra depth of flavor as opposed to just regular cheddar. And I'm going to do about 2 cups of cheddar. That's also going to help thicken our soup a little bit, and it's also going to give us some nice flavor. And then I saved some bacon from our brunch episode to garnish on top. It's nice, crispy, and fatty, so it's going to give us another depth of flavor. And really, once you get the heavy cream, just a few minutes to let it come to temp, and you're going to notice that it's going to start to thicken up a little bit. And that cheese as well is going to melt in there and get nice and there. And then we've got the onion and celery that's going to give us some more plays of texture and things like that. But I think our soup is ready to go. I'm going to go and turn it down. It's a really simple soup, maybe a half an hour tops with prep. Just a really easy, fun, some fun flavors, and everybody is going to love it. Okay, I've got my bowl and spoon here. I'm just going to ladle out a little of this soup. And you can see it's not too thick, and you don't want it like pasty. It has some broth to it still, but there's kind of a richness to it. And then I'm going to garnish it with just a little extra cheese. And then I thought, instead of doing like oyster crackers or something like that, bacon would be nice. It's giving you some more protein. It's giving you some good fat. And then unlike the oyster crackers that are all carbs, you're getting some nice protein in there. And you're still getting that kind of crunchy texture you get from the crackers. And all that is left is to give this baby a little taste. I just want you guys to see how delicious this looks. Look at that. So good. I'm going to come in here. I want a nice big old spoonful with everything in it here. Bon appetit. This is hot, so be careful. Love it. The fattiness from the bacon adds just like another layer of richness. The cream and cooking that broccoli down, it all just melts in your mouth. You get those sharp cheddar notes. The garlic and the garlic and onion and the celery, they all play nice together. They really enhance the flavor of the broccoli. And that broth, I could just drink this broth up with a spoon, guys. So that is my broccoli cheddar soup for the haters. Next. Okay, everybody, we are back. And I'm moving on to my vegetable soup now. Of course, with any soup, we always begin with our beginners, onion and celery and garlic. And I'm just going to do half an onion here. Save the other half for another time. What I love about this vegetable soup, it's a great way to use up extra vegetables. Just throw everything in a pot, some seasoning, you're good to go. I haven't shown you guys my garden yet, but I do a pretty big garden out back. I have a lot of vegetables come in every year. Neighbors help me harvest. I send them home with things. I do a lot of canning, a lot of pickling. I do a lot of flash freezing, which is what I'm using today. There's some frozen vegetable mix that I put together. So the onion's going to go in. And I've just got a couple tablespoons of olive oil in there. And you can tell when that oil is ready because you throw in those onions and you hear that sizzle. I love that. I love it. Your food speaks to you if you listen to it. And the celery, I'm just doing a rough dice on that. Small sticks and then dices. And that's going to go in as well. And I'm going to give that a little stir. I'm going to add just a little more oil. Those onions like to drink up the oil. And we're going to begin our flavor process. About a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of pepper. Continue to stir. You want to let those onions and celery get nice and tender. Alright, the onion and the celery has sweat down nicely. I'm going to come in here with a little garlic. Yes, I've got my minced garlic again. About a tablespoon. Try and get some of those juices. That's the best part. That garlic oil. And stir that quick. You don't want the garlic to burn. You just want it to kind of cook down. And I've got some things here out of my garden. I have some crushed tomatoes and some potatoes. Now normally for a soup, I would add a roux to this so it's going to thicken up. But I'm putting corn in here, and I've got potatoes. They're going to release some starch, and they're going to thicken this soup for me. So I really don't need anything at all. And that garlic smells good. Once you can start to smell the garlic, it's ready. And I'm just going to go ahead and dump this in, juice and all. And those are just tomatoes that I have diced and canned in their own juices. Now I'm going to do equal parts water. So I'm just going to fill this jar with water. And same thing with the potatoes. Now there's some juice from the potatoes, but I'm just going to add some more water here. Now there's a little bit of seasoning in the tomatoes, sorry, but it's not enough. So I'm going to season some more. Another teaspoon of salt, another half teaspoon of pepper. I have some Italian seasoning here. I'm going to do about a couple teaspoons of the Italian seasoning. And I have little chili powder here for just a pinch of heat. I'm going to do about a fourth teaspoon of that just to give a little kick. Wake those vegetables up. And bay leaves. Here's the thing about bay leaves. They smell great, and they cook down. They give your anything you're cooking with a lovely flavor. I use them in a lot of broth-based soups. They are inedible. You cannot eat these, so you want to make sure you take them out at the end. So we're going to be fishing for those when I put the soup up. And I'm just going to give this a nice stir. I'm going to let this go for a little while, let that water come up to a boil, and we will throw in our veggies. This is just a frozen vegetable mix I've put together. I've got corn, carrots, peas, and green beans. These are out of my garden. I like to do different things. Sometimes I can my vegetables, depending on what it is. I've got some canned beans as well. And then I'll blanch my vegetables, and I'll put together these little mixes. I'll either, sometimes I'll do like the peas or the corn I'll do all together in smaller bags. Or sometimes like here, I put together a mix. And this is great for soups. You can saute it as a side. It's great for pot pie. It's really great for pot pie too. And you just date it, label it, stick it in the freezer, and you're ready to go. Alright. Our soup has come to a boil. I don't know if you can hear that or not. I'm going to throw these vegetables in. Now I've been letting them sit out so they kind of defrost a little bit. They don't take long at all. They're already pre-cooked. So really you just need them to come to temperature. So you dump them right in, let them defrost, dump them right in, and stir that around. And it literally just takes a few minutes for those vegetables to come to temp. And I see one of my leaves here. I'm going to go ahead and pick that out. Those are inedible. I think I see another one. Yes. The good thing is they're big, so they're easy to find. You don't have to worry about losing them in your broth. And here's the last one. Awesome. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and turn this down. I think we are good. I can see the vegetables have already started to turn color. I'm going to get a ladle here, a little stir spoon out of the way. I'm just going to come in here and get a nice ladle full. Alright, I'm just going to come in here and give this a nice little taste. It's kind of hot. Yum. This is awesome, guys. You get a nice texture from those frozen veggies we just threw in. The broth is nice and unctuous. You've got the bay leaf, the Italian seasoning, just the right amount of salt. The corn and the potatoes release those starches, kind of thickens it up nicely. And it's a nice colorful soup. Let me show you guys. You have the peas, the celery, the green beans give you that green, the tomatoes, you've got the carrots, the corn. It's just a really colorful, fun soup. It's a great way to use vegetables. Yeah. So I'm going to continue this, and next we will move on to my chicken noodle soup. Stay tuned. Alright, welcome back everybody. We are on our last dish. It is a classic chicken noodle soup. And I'm going to show you a really simple way to get a delicious chicken noodle soup that tastes like it's been on the stove all day. So, I've already got a pot of water going here. I'm about to bring it to a boil. We're going to make our own broth. It's going to be a vegetable broth. I've already got some carrots in here. Half an onion that I used in our last episode, and I've rinsed those off. I've got another onion here. I'm going to do 1.5 onions, and I'm just going to throw these in whole. I want to try and get the peel off, but I'm not chopping it up, I'm not doing anything. Just cutting it in half, exposing the petals. I also have some celery. I'm going to chop the heads off, chop the ends off. The heads we can use, because we're not eating them, we're just using them for flavor. And I'm going to just chop those into pieces so they fit into my bowl. And I've also got a small head of garlic here, and I'm going to peel that off. Now I know usually I do the jarred, minced garlic because I like the garlic oil and all that. But I don't want actually garlic in my soup, garlic pieces. I just want the flavor of the garlic. And then I'm just going to kind of smash this down. That's going to separate all these little cloves. Make sure we get the peeling off of that. I do not want the garlic peel in my soup. I just want the cloves, and I'm going to put this whole thing in there. To my water here, I'm going to add a little salt. About a teaspoon of salt, and about half a teaspoon of pepper, 2 tablespoons of poultry seasoning, and I'm going to drop this baby in. Just one more thing I want to add to my soup: bay leaves. I know we just talked about bay leaves on the last soup. They smell divine. I'm adding them now. As I mentioned in the previous video, they're inedible. And you want to make sure you pick them out. And then if I add them to the strainer with the rest of my aromatics, I can pull it right out. But as you can see, the weight of the vegetables sinks this down into the water, and they're just going to stew away nicely. This is going to come to a boil. I'm going to let it boil for about I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll add our chicken and our noodles. Alright, you can see everything is cooked down nicely. Nice and tender vegetables. And that water has gotten a lovely color. That is what we are looking for. I'm going to pull this from the heat just for a second. I'm going to pull out our aromatics. We thank you for coming. And the soup, the stock goes back on the stove. I'm going to give it a little stir. A lot of my seasonings are probably at the bottom of the pan right now, so I like to give that a stir just to kind of even everything out. And we're just going to give that a little taste here. Alright, I'm going to add a little more pepper here. About another teaspoon of pepper, another teaspoon of salt, and then we are going to finish this baby off. I've got some chicken here. This is about half a bag of frozen diced chicken that I have thawing out in my fridge. I love this. This is like a big bulk buy. You can get the big bags of it. It's great for so many things. I use it for stir fries. It's great for saute some onions and peppers. You got fajitas. It's great for making chicken salad. And it's going to be just perfect for my soup here. I'm just going to throw that right in. And then I've got some noodles here. Half a bag of egg noodles. Now that's also going to go right in. And what's great about the chicken, it's already cooked, so you just need to warm it back up. And the noodles, they only take about 7 to 8 minutes to get tender. So I'm just going to let that go till those noodles get nice and al dente. And our soup will be ready to taste. See you guys in a second. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to taste one of these noodles. Nice. Got a little texture to it, but it's cooked through. So I'm going to turn this baby off. And I'm going to let it cool down before I put it away, but until then, I'm going to go ahead and give it a little taste. Got my bowl and my spoon. And I just need a ladle here. And then I want to make sure I get some of that broth. Perfect. Now doesn't that look like a delicious bowl of homemade soup? And it was so simple. Alright, now it's hot. Just may want to blow on it. Oh my gosh, yum. That broth, so much flavor. Just a few vegetables, a few herbs, just let it cook down. That's all it takes. And the chicken's good. You would never know this wasn't chicken off the bone. It's delicious. The noodles give it some nice body. This will clear your sinuses, let me tell you. So, thanks for joining me on a little tour of soups. As always, like and subscribe at the bottom. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and until next time, bon appetit!